The cannabis industry has become a significant catalyst for job creation. According to the 2022 jobs report by Leafly.com, there are now 428,000 full-time jobs in the cannabis industry. Joining us today on Newsmakers is Brandon Olson, the store manager for Missouri Made Marijuana. Thanks for joining us today, Brandon.
You're welcome.
So that jobs report, I was just blown away by the sheer number and of the employment for marijuana jobs, or I guess cannabis jobs, cannabis industry. So talk about how fast the industry is growing.
The industry is growing really, really fast. As of 2014, we did, let's see, where's it at here? As of 2014, we did about 3.14 billion in sales.
Wow.
Throughout the whole United States. Next year, no, it's actually this year. So 2022, we are projected to do 30.5 billion in projected sales.
Wow. That's just enormous.
Yeah, it's about a 30% average annual growth.
Wow. So Missouri made medical marijuana legal in 2019, and there's also 18 states, from what I understand, including the District of Columbia and Guam, that have legalized it. And some have even legalized recreational use. So talk about all the different jobs that are created based on this industry.
Okay, all right, yeah, definitely help you with that. So there's going to be two major distinctions in this industry. There's going to be jobs who work directly with the plant, and there's going to be also jobs that work indirectly with the plant. Some of those roles that work directly with the plant are going to be cultivators, harvesters, trimmers, packagers, extractionists, chefs, dispensary staff like myself, including bud tenders, managers, carriers, and even more than that. Some roles that work indirectly with the plant are going to be administration, human resources, accounting, faculty management, marketers, inventory controllers, social media, B2B sales, and directors. We also have security and compliance officers that we will have on site as well.
Mm-hmm. And you've been here, you said, about a year. Mm-hmm. How's it going for you guys?
It's actually going really, really well. We finally got our Kabunki brand in, and that's just flying off the shelves right now.
Okay.
So,
and what's different about that, or what makes that so popular?
It's going to be the stuff that we grow ourselves.
Oh, okay.
So our company is going to be fully integrated. So that means we can grow it, ship it, send it, and sell it.
Oh, okay. Because in Missouri there were two different licensings, right? The growers and the
there's actually
dispensary.
Four.
Okay.
Yeah, you got manufacturing, you got cultivation, which is growing, you got the dispensary, and then you got transportation.
Okay. So what goes into the manufacturing of, say, a medical marijuana plant versus the plant that just gets you high, the THC level, I guess? Or do they extract the different?
Yeah, so like when they'll use the plant, a normal marijuana plant, and they'll, depending on the extraction process, they can extract it multiple ways.
Okay.
So you can use butane to extract it. You can use what they call rosin, where you just press it with heat, and there's no chemicals added at all. It's really, really pure.
Okay. So, I mean, these job skills for the cannabis industry, like you said, marketing, human resources, it requires any type of discipline, right? Anybody could get a job in the cannabis industry.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Before I started doing this, like the growth, I saw the growth and the potential myself. So I used to be a chef out in Las Vegas. I stopped doing that, and I decided to get into this industry because I saw the potential.
Yeah, and some people have said, oh, it's too late to jump on that bandwagon, but it really isn't, because there are programs, schools, colleges, universities around the country that are now starting up programs.
Yeah, for a long time, education was done through like personal research and stuff like that. There were very few resources to expand your cannabis knowledge. But as the industry began to grow, we saw certification programs, online courses, in-house staff for training, and even product-specific training provided by cannabis brands themselves. So like some of our vendors will come in, and they will come and teach us about everything their brand does.
Wow. I mean, I wouldn't have even thought that marketing was a thing for marijuana industry because, it kind of markets itself, if you will.
Right,
But I mean, it really takes some pretty savvy marketing to, I guess, go with, say, Missouri Made versus somebody else in town.
Right.
And do you guys have your own marketing? Is it at the corporate level? How does that work?
I have a marketing team that I work with back in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And we work almost every day together.
Wow. Well, and I had gotten, what kind of sparked my attention for this show was that Tulsa Community College is now offering a certification, specialized training. Is it necessary to have any kind of specialized training, or could just anybody come in?
I mean, it really depends on your experience and education with cannabis itself. I've been using cannabis myself for quite a while, and so therefore I've just kind of learned, kind of like I talked about before, just through my own personal research and stuff. But formal cannabis education is going to be the natural next step into making cannabis the mainstream industry that it is today.
Well, and there's a lot of research that goes into that industry for medications that help, I think I read seizures, multiple sclerosis, like there's a whole lot of scientific stuff, things that my brain can't even handle.
Yeah, things that my brain can't handle either.
Yeah. So do you think it would be better for a program, or I guess a company, to have people with certifications? Do you see it going that direction?
Training and education are important because we want to convey the most accurate information we have available to us. So the more informed the public is, the more we can combat misinformation and false narratives regarding cannabis and stuff like that.
And I just rewatched, I was telling you, the documentary that Dr. Sanjay Gupta on CNN did several years back about weed, and how the country of Israel, they have done research, government-sponsored research for decades, since the 70s. I mean, back when America was just having fun with it, they were already researching it. And so they're leap years ahead of us when it comes to knowing, the effects on the human brain, the effects on the teenage brain, that kind of thing. Yeah. And it can really help a lot of kids even with seizure disorders, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So I read that, I guess I saw that there are thousands of jobs in this industry on well-known sites like ZipRecruiter, Indeed.com. And one of them I found interesting was the principal research scientist. I guess in fermentation, it sounds like education is a definite yes for people who want to get into that.
Yeah, it definitely won't help. The industry needs both plant touching and plant supporting roles. So without the support staff meeting government regulations and business needs, the plant touching employees wouldn't be able to move the product to the market.
Oh.
So we expect the industry to create types of jobs that we haven't even considered yet.
Yeah.
So especially as we move toward the cannabis research and expanded markets, federal rescheduling and descheduling would also create a new wave of growth, opening up hundreds of thousands of more jobs.
Yeah, because right now it's considered a Schedule 1.
Yes.
And that's, I guess explain, that's why it's still a cash industry.
Correct. Yep.
Because of the federal laws.
Yep. Cash is one of the most tedious aspects of this industry. Because of cannabis federal status, mainstream financial institutions don't want to work with cannabis businesses like ourselves. We are forced to work solely with cash. This goes for everything, including payroll, invoice payments, and even digital assets, which makes things even kind of harder when you're trying to put cash.
Really?
Yeah.
So do they do 401ks and health benefits, things like that?
We will once they reschedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the way, for companies now that say they offer that, how do they I guess pay for it or fund it? Does your company offer that kind of thing?
We don't as of yet. Right now, because it's still Schedule 2, we don't have any banking at all whatsoever.
Wow. So when people get their payroll, it's cash?
Yes.
Cash in, cash out. And that's why security is so important, correct?
Yes, that's why security is very important.
But I don't hear a lot about cannabis businesses being robbed, or it seems like that's a thing that criminals just don't touch.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have an ID. You have to, I mean, to even be on property, you have to be over 21. You have to have a federal ID. You have to have your medical card. So it's very, very strict.
Yeah.
All of our doors are mag locked. So,
Okay.
so you have to have a badge to get throughout the whole building.
Right. I mean, that's another job that is created, right? Security. And
Security. We even have ex-cops who are
wow.
wanting to get off the force and do something a little bit easier and make a little bit more money.
Yeah, it probably is well funded, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So talk about companies that are helping, make this more of a legitimate type business, not so much in the shadows.
Okay, so like much of the innovation industry now is matching a lot of the mainstream industries with many cannabis businesses offering insurance and PTO. We at Missouri Made offer insurance and PTO. Not having access to the mainstream banking makes it difficult to provide the 401ks and other benefits that are tied to federal banking programs. As we progress and gain access to banking, we can expect to see the very same benefits that the mainstream industries provide as well.
Right. And that helps take some of the cloud, I think, away from
Yes.
from the industry as a whole. There are places in Northern California that have, pretty bad reputation, the counties or the areas, due to illegal marijuana trade. But that's not the way it is in Missouri, right? Because it's new.
What do you mean, like?
Well, so like there are people who do illegal grows in other states
Yeah.
where it's been around longer.
Yeah.
But Missouri doesn't have that issue at this point.
Probably not quite yet, but Missouri also does have the legal rights growers. So like once you become a patient, you can pay to be a cultivator for yourself.
Oh.
So you're allowed to have, I think it's at least 6 plants
Okay.
in each stage.
Wow. And so that, I guess, it creates a lot of tax dollars too, doesn't it, for the states?
Yes, the states get quite a bit of tax money.
Yeah. I read that there were billions last year, like over 8 states, $1.36 billion just from those 8 states alone. And then from the time Colorado and Washington legalized it, all of the states have reported $10.4 billion in tax. I mean, that just sounds like states are going to be able to fill the gaps in their coffers.
Yeah.
How is the industry in you said Nevada is where you came from? Do they seem to have pretty good resources from the marijuana industry?
What do you mean, like what type of resources?
Oh, like the state takes in tax dollars and is able to.
Yeah. I mean, they do a lot of stuff with schools out there and a lot of stuff like that.
And what do you think it's important for people to know about the marijuana industry as far as forward thinking?
Really, the one thing I would really like people to know about is one thing I find very strange is how every day I could wake up and go sell marijuana, but yeah, there's still people in jail for marijuana serving time. That just makes no sense to me at all.
Right. And I read that there are a number of states that have decriminalized
Yes.
a small, like, singular portion, for personal use.
Yeah.
And you think that would help go a long way?
It would help to stop prosecuting further marijuana-related crimes like that. Like if Missouri would decriminalize marijuana, it would definitely help.
Because a number of states have done that, right?
Yep.
So post-pandemic, cannabis seems like it's a must.
Yeah, out in Nevada, we were deemed essential. Out there, when the Las Vegas Strip closed, we did not.
Wow. That goes a long way in taking some of that cloud away too, I think. And I think cancer patients, just on a personal note, my mom had lung cancer and it had metastasized to her brain. And for quite a while, we weren't able to get her to eat anything.
Right.
And she got a card and got the medical rights to be able to use, I think it was CBD oil or a CBD content, something.
CBD is really good as well.
Yeah. And do you guys deal with that as well?
Yes, we have CBD. We have all kinds of stuff. We have like stuff that's going to be like 1-to-1. So the ratio is going to be the exact same as THC to CBD. Sometimes we have even a 2-to-1, which it'll be 2 times the ratio of CBD to THC. Well, 5-to-1s, 10-to-1s, just depending on what kind of medical disability you're working with. Depends
Medical
on
industry.
what kind of
Like pain versus.
pain, swelling, inflammation. People can't sleep. There's actually one thing a lot of people don't know about cannabis is there's these things called terpenes inside cannabis. Actually, they're inside everything: strawberries, lemons, limes. But it's
Okay.
also in cannabis. It's what gives fruit and flowers and other things their smells and aromas
Okay.
and stuff like that. And the same thing with cannabis. But the one thing we're finding out is these cannabis-derived terpenes have medical benefits.
Okay.
So depending on the strain and the terpene profile, I can look at that because everything here gets tested by the state as well. So,
Okay.
so that's how we know what's in the plant, what the THC content is, what the CBD is, what the terpene profile is. And depending on that terpene profile, I can pretty much tell you how that exact strain is going to help you.
Really?
Yes.
And so if it's got a high terpene value, what
Just
does that do?
depending. So like there's like 40 or 50 terpenes that they know of right now. Like you said, they're doing research all the time. So every day we're learning more and more. But some of the major ones are going to be like myrcene, carafilene, limonene, pinene. There's even one that's called humulene. It's going to be like for anti-appetite. So a lot of people don't know that you can smoke weed and not get hungry.
Wow. I guess there'd be a number of people up for that.
Yeah.
So what do those flowering, the scents, what does that do?
Depending on the plant, each plant is grown, and they're finding out now, even like kind of like wine, depending on where it's grown outside, the region, the hills, that's going to give the plant a different terpene profile as well.
So does that translate into taste?
It
Or
translates
is it
into
just-
everything, taste, the way it looks, and how it can help you medically.
Wow. There's just so much I don't know, and I thought I'd done plenty of research. So HR professionals, there was a study done by Green Thumb Industries, and it said that they added 1,000 jobs last year, just last year. So to add 1,000 jobs to a company, that would take a pretty decent-sized HR department.
Yeah, pretty massive.
Yeah, so HR is even one of those big jobs that the cannabis industry probably is. If you're going to do human resources and you can't find it in, say, mainstream
Right.
corporate world, I mean,
We're pretty corporate.
yeah, yeah, pretty structured and
Yeah.
a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah, we got like C-suite officers, directors, managers, leads, and main staff. When
Okay,
it comes to like similar mainstream
and that's
jobs.
corporate jobs. Okay, and going back to the, I guess Dr. Sanjay Gupta's documents, in my mind, the thought of using, cannabis on a child is completely different when we're talking about somebody with seizure disorders. And as I was watching it, there's people arguing against it. What could it do? Oh, we don't know, but we know what seizures can do to the child's brain.
Correct.
And the drugs that they give them, like that are approved by the FDA, they're massive and debilitating.
Yeah.
But cannabis, not so much. It doesn't debilitate.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible what it can do. So what is your take? Do you think that to be in the cannabis industry, you have to also be an advocate, or can you just be in the industry?
I want to say you can just be in the industry. Out in Las Vegas, we had a few people out there that didn't smoke. They still worked there.
Sure.
So.
But to advocate for it, you have to believe in its
Yes.
benefits as well
It's
as
benefits, and you almost have to have a passion for it, I would say.
Yeah. Well, and I guess if you want to be successful at your job, no matter what it is, and so the same goes for the cannabis industry. And do you think that the uniformity and the safety and the testing has made it better.
Definitely.
Yeah, keeps it all.
Keeps everything on the up and up.
And what kind of, I guess, process do you have to go through to get it from plant to market?
Plant to market. So they will first they have what they call, in order to get the plants to Missouri, they give us what they call immaculate conception.
Okay.
So they don't really care where the plants come from, as long as they just are there, they're okay.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So then after that, everything is tracked, traced, tagged, numbered.
I gotcha.
There's this thing called metric. They're in almost every legal state right now, and they're the ones that track, trace everything. So that tag will go onto the plant as soon as it's put in the ground, or as we do it, we do hydroponics. So
Okay.
we don't use any soil
Okay.
and stuff like that.
So it's water.
Water
based.
and nutrients and.
Okay. And do you guys, I guess, what is it, synthesize or combine certain plants to grow, to make that one that you talked about earlier? Is it 2 plants combined? Do you do like?
It depends on exactly how they do that. So like, I believe in order to like make new strains, that's kind of what you're talking about.
yeah.
You have to have the pollen from a male plant, I believe. And then you have to dust that onto a female plant. And then from there.
Who knew there was male and female plants? So we had done a show, or I had heard it somewhere maybe, about bees being very necessary in helping to pollinate plants. Does that work that way with?
It actually works exactly the same way.
Okay.
There was this company, I don't know if it was here or not, but they actually use the bees, and they fly around, they get all the pollen from the cannabis, and actually go to make the honey. And
Wow.
it's actually cannabis infused honey. The farmers don't do anything. The bees
Wow.
do all the work.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So how many different types do you guys sell?
Whatever is
Is that-
available in Missouri. Like right now we have our Kabunki stuff. We have the Jolly Joplin, which is super famous just because of the name. We got the number 9. We got the Gushers. We got the Runts. We got, what else is there?
How many different types? Is there 10, 12, 15? Like, is there a number that they cap it at?
Not really.
Okay. So it's just whatever you guys can
Yep, whatever we
cultivate
can
or-
cultivate and grow and
Wow.
sell.
And how many farms, or I guess areas, or dispensaries, growers in the area are there?
I want to say there are currently over 100 dispensaries operating in Missouri.
Okay. It seems like in Joplin alone, there's probably a handful. So
Yeah.
probably in the bigger cities, there's more. And what do bud tenders do? I read that that's a real necessary job.
Bud tenders, they're going to be the ones that pretty much interact with the patients.
Okay.
They're going to be the ones that pretty much a cashier type
Oh, okay.
deal.
Like a sales associate, if you
Pretty
will.
much, yeah.
Like in a store. Okay. And so the research biologists and the scientist part of it, that happens like in the farming area, or that part of it?
Yep, that can happen depending on how the company's got it set up. Like some companies will have the lab right there on site
Oh,
with
okay.
the cultivation.
Okay. Does that work that way in Missouri? Or is it all separate?
Depending on the what company, how they do things.
Okay. And what about investing? If somebody wanted to invest in the marijuana or cannabis industry, how do they do that? Because it's not a stock trade, I guess, is from what I gather.
There is and there ain't. Like there's certain markets right now that you can trade stocks in. I believe in Canada is one of them.
Oh.
Canada's government actually, they decriminalized it. It's completely legal there.
Right.
For Canadians, so they can get weed delivered through their mail out there.
Wow. So if you want to, like, I want to invest money in, rather than in a 401k, I want to invest in the marijuana industry or the cannabis industry. Do you just approach a company about that? And
You can. There's
Say,
multiple ways to
"Here's my
do
money."
it. You can, depending on the company, you can do it that way. You can start your own company. Yeah, I know some people, they just like to come in. They'll try to buy buy your license from you per that state. So that's another way you can kind of just get in.
Okay.
Is you can just get a license and then sell it. That's what quite a few companies do.
Okay. And for you, what do you specialize in, Missouri-made marijuana?
We pretty much do it all. We
Okay.
do. The one thing I found out about the company is I'm a big concentrates smoker, and then we have some of the best concentrates and some of the best prices. So that's
okay.
kind of why I found out about the company. That's one thing they kind of specialize, but we do everything really well. Like our flower out here is so amazing.
That's great.
They've been growing the one strain out there. We just got our brand new small batch of it, and the numbers on it tested higher than they've ever seen in like 7 years.
Higher for?
Everything, THC, terpenes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And do they test that in the store, in the labs,
No,
or how does
it's
that
going
work?
to be sent to, there's like 4 or 5 labs that are up and operating right now in Missouri, so we have to send a bunch of weed to them,
Okay.
and they'll test it for us.
And how do your vendors get paid? If it's cash industry,
That's a tricky question because before I came out here, it was like cash, cash, cash.
Sure.
Now that I'm in Missouri, some of my vendors, they don't want to take cash. They're like afraid of it.
oh,
So I can't even order from
Right.
them at the moment.
wow. So, I mean, there's still some holdovers of it's illegal to, this is here, it's here to stay, it's going to move forward, and, you know, they might as well,
Yeah, I
Change
don't know
with the
what,
times.
I don't know why the government's waiting so long.
yeah, especially in the research part of it.
Yeah, especially.
Waiting to fund research, it seems like that ship has sailed.
I think they're just now starting it, but
That'd be great.
it's better than never.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And what would you like our viewers to know about the cannabis industry that maybe if we haven't touched on?
What do I want you guys all to know?
It's not illegal. It's not as sketchy
it's not,
as it used to be.
it's not super sketchy. We're not all criminals.
Right.
You know, we're just your average neighbor dude.
Yeah, and I read a story that said, you know, there's never been a cannabis overdose
No,
ever in history.
Never in history.
You have opioid overdoses. You have alcohol
day, yep.
every day, but there's never one time been a cannabis overdose
Nope.
or marijuana overdose.
Yeah, never.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about this
thanks for
industry
having
and
me.
how big it and fast it's growing.
Yeah.
I want to thank Brandon Olson from Missouri-Made Marijuana for joining us today to discuss the rapidly growing weed industry. This is Newsmakers on KGCS TV from the Ruth Copeland Studios here at Missouri Southern State University, and I'm Bobby Pottruff. We'll see you again soon.